I'm going to do a very fast demo, and I want to talk to you today about painting the facial colors of different complexions. So some of you have different color reds, and no matter what complexion you are, from very pale to medium brown to dark brown, you're going to need your reds. You're also going to need, for the browns, for olive going to dark brown, your greens. And you have a choice to go brown first and then lighten it to a very light brown, or you have the choice to go starting with a pale and then adding browns to it. Also to the face, there are other colors that you can add for shadows. So you can add, you just don't have to add black and white, which would be a gray, which would be a taupe. You can add other things like different color browns to the face for shadows. You can add blues, no matter what complexion you are. And you can also add yellows instead of whites, okay? So you have to look at your face and choose a main face color. Then you have to look at the lights that you're gonna add to it. You're either gonna make that color lighter, or you're going to make it darker, which means you could have pale and blue, pale and brown, or whatever it's going to be. So what I have here is I'm using a couple of the students' paints, right? Your paints, if you're watching this, might be a little bit different. But what I have here, you could have a cad yellow, it doesn't matter. You could have a lemon yellow, that's okay. Here we have two different types of reds. One of the red is a little bit brighter. So if you're using a pale, you'll notice that it has a little bit of orange in it and it's a little bit brighter. This is more of a pure red. Then here we have our dark green. It's better to start with that green. You can use a little bit and have control. And then we have our tea white, okay? Here we have some different color browns. This is a brown that I can make with a purple and a yellow combined, and I get this color. This is another brown that I can make with a red and a green with more red in it, and it looks like this. So you don't have to spend the money to make that brown. And this is another brown that I can make with a green and an orange. And you can see they're all different colors. I can lighten the browns by adding yellow to keep the brown color, and then adding white to lighten it. So let's start. And I'm gonna use my brush. So, in this class, since it doesn't matter if you're using oils or watercolors or acrylics, the colors are gonna be the same. The only difference is your application, if you're going to be using water or if you're going to be using some kind of turp first, or a gamsol. So I'm going to show you how we're going to mix it. I'm going to do it up here, and I'm going to bring it so you can see. So I have mostly white with my palette knife. You can clean your palette knife off. I'm not going to. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a tiny bit of this red. When I say a tiny bit, you see how small that dot is? It's almost microscopic. And I'm going to put it in here, and you can see how pink that makes that fast, right? Nobody is that complexion, right? So what I'm going to do is I want to show you how much, how fast pink is, how it does it. Now, so we have this color pink. This color pink is a good pink to start with. And then we have to make this to a pale color. So I'm going to take, again, a tiny dot of my yellow. It's so microscopic, it's small. I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to keep blending it. And this is the way I blend with my palette knife, and I go back very slowly, and I keep adding bits of yellow until this drastically starts turning to a pale color. You see how slowly I'm adding it? Okay? And do you see how it's changing? Get this. So a little bit more. Okay. And do you see how now that is the color pale? Okay? So this went from, and you want to do it in that order. You do not want to do it in the order first adding white and yellow, because you'll get a light yellow, and then when you add the red, you'll get an orange. So it's important that you're going white, you're adding a little bit of red, and then you're adding the yellow, and you're going to get this pale color, okay? Now I want to show you something. I'm going to make this brown in front of you for those of you that don't have these browns at home, and I'm going to add it to that pale color. So let's say we have our, again, dark. It could be a dark green, it's fine. It could be a phthalo green, and I'm having my red, and I'm adding them together, and I get this brown. You can see it's kind of like a reddish brown. Okay, I'm going to take this brown, and I'm going to add a dot of it into here. And it changes my color. Okay, so now this is a brown, and you see how little bit I add, and I'm doing it in a small amount so you can see, but if it's a larger amount, you use more paint. Now I want to show you something. If I want, some people have a little bit more yellow in their skin, in the brown, and this drastically changes it, you see? So I'm adding tiny little bits of yellow into here and blending it, and now I get this color brown. Okay, so this is kind of a mixture between pale, right, and brown. I would say the name of the color that they call it for makeup, but I can't. So, but anyway, you get the point. And if I wanted to darken this, I'll show you. I'm going to slowly now, I'm just going to add little bits of brown. It's going to be really red for a minute, and I'm doing this on purpose so you can see what happens. Oh, it's like somebody got a sunburn here, right? So then if I want to make that brown again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly add my yellow, and then I get back. Do you see how the brown is getting darker and darker now, right? And I can keep doing that. So I'm gonna, almost using all my brown here. Let's make some more. So I got red, and I got a little bit of, okay. I didn't clean my knife off, so that's why I'm getting this white on here. Let me clean my knife. Okay. So I'm sorry, I'm going to remix it because I can use this, but I'm just going to make a lot of brown here. And I'm mixing it up close, a little amount so you can see. So it's very dark now. We have this, right? And then I'm going to put this a little bit in here, and then I'm going to mix it. And you see how drastically it changes? Just that little bit will drastically change that whole color. And then again, you know that if I want to put my yellow, I can change the color, and it changes again. Okay? Oops. And it changes again. And make sure when you're using your knife, you go all the way through. Okay? If I wanted to make this light, like once I had it dark, I might, see a light part of a face. I can add it directly onto here, and it would brighten that area. So sometimes you see the color might be the color underneath, and then you want to add white. Right? If it's watercolor, it's easy. You just can pull it off, right? But if it's acrylics or oils, it's an extra step of adding that white on top, okay? And if I wanted to add a dark shadow. Now I could add a gray in here, I could add a purple, I could add a blue. Let's add a little bit of blue to this so you can see what I'm talking about. I have a tiny bit of blue in here, and I'm gonna add a little bit of blue, and I wanna mix it really well. And you can see that will work really well for a shadow in somebody's skin. It's kind of natural. You could add a green, but you can still see that color, the main color underneath, and it looks better than just adding a black in there where you have a gray, you have that blue skin tone. You'll notice a lot of time if someone is very pale and you look at their skin, their veins, right, it will be blue. And if they're kind of olive, right, or darker, they'll have green, right, that will show in it. So this would be an excellent color. Now, let's go dark. Let's go from dark to light, opposite. So I'm going to have a little bit of my green over here, and I'm picking up some of my red. And I'm going to make this dark brown. In fact, let's make a little bit more of it. I really want to mix it well. Okay, and now I have this brown. And to lighten this, I'm going to do a mistake so you don't do it, okay? So what I'm going to do is some students want to go for the white right away. And then when they add the white, this is what they kind of end up with, this kind of like purple, lavender. They're like, what happened? Even with the watercolor, if you're just kind of wiping it out, sometimes you'll get this color. you'll say, why is this happening? And I'm going to show you how I can fix this, okay? If I made that mistake with my watercolor and I added a brown in there, a green and a red, and I got that brown and I added white, I could balance it right away with adding a yellow. So a yellow, we have to add the yellow here. And mix it in really well. Keep mixing it. And I get back to this brown, okay? And you can see I left this, so you can see all the colors that we had that was underneath. If I wanted to lighten that brown, I could keep adding more yellow, okay? And then I could add a white, or if I want to make it, a little bit more redder, I'll show you. We can warm that here, warm it up, and we get this brown. Okay, so pretty simple. Now, I want to show you something else. I'm going to start with red and green again. So let's move the red over here, and let's take a little bit of green. Okay, and we have this dark brown here. Let me put this a little flatter. Okay, so see the dark brown? Okay, now I'm going to do it the right way. Let's make it a little darker. Now I'm going to do it the right way. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to make a mistake. I'm going to go straight for that yellow this time. So I'm going to pick up the yellow and I'm going to add it in here. I'm going to put this down so I don't have to, the board doesn't move all around. And you can see I have my brown. It's a reddish brown. I can add more yellow to it. And I have to really mix it well. And my dark brown now has become this color brown. Okay, I can add more red to it or more yellow. If I want to add a shadow, I can add a green into it. Remember when I was talking about the skin tone and I said that if you have brown, you have green, right? If you have paler, you have blue. So this would be, we could add a blue into it, it would be okay. But we can darken this, and if we wanted it to look a little bit more natural, here also. Do you see how that brown is a very subtle difference? So I'll show you what happens when we add a little bit of blue. So I have a little bit of blue on my knife here, and I'm going to mix it in. And this could be for a darker shadow. This is also a combination of blue and green. It works great for someone with a darker complexion. The same thing if we went to this dark, if they were this complexion and we added a little bit of blue to it, or this would work well with a purple to darken that, okay? So this is the way that you would basically formulate from light to dark, right, for the skin tone, starting with the pale, right? And again, it would be for the watercolors, mostly water, then a tiny bit of red, and for the oils and acrylics, mostly white, your tea white, and a tiny bit of your red, preferably, if you had a cad red, that works really good. An apple crimson works well too. And for the yellows, you can add a cad yellow. You can even get away with a lemon yellow, but realize it's a little bit light, okay? Now, so that's the first thing about the complexions and the shadows. Okay,